Hello, everybody.
Hello!
We are here with Boy Oh Boy Conversations with Gray and JC. Greyson.
JC?
Guess what?
What?
Greyson, we have entered and we are currently ushering in a whole new era of the Boy Oh Boy podcast, as this marks the start of season 2.
Incredible.
145 weeks, 145 episodes in, we are here, season 2. It's taken a while. You know, it wasn't necessarily a goal we set out with either, but arbitrarily, like 10 weeks ago, we decided we'd enter a new season, and I guess that's what we're doing.
It's what we're doing. It's the plan. It's the move.
It is. And in addition to this being an arbitrary second season, I guess it goes beyond just being arbitrary in the sense that we're supposed to be looking at one another, like physically, right, through our computer screens, like with video, and that's not really happening. But we do have a video component. Yeah, the audience.
They can still see us.
The wonderful, wonderful listening audience can absolutely see us, and it's pretty jarring, you know, because now I'm going to be so much more focused on just watching myself on my computer screen as we record these episodes. But
my goodness, I keep looking over and staring at myself.
Yeah. What do you mean looking over? You have to like turn your head to see yourself?
I have two screens. So I have Discord on this screen.
Yeah.
That I'm looking at right now.
Uh-huh.
And then I have my video on this screen. That I'm looking at now.
I see. See, now for me, I'm just making really intense eye contact with myself, and it's really just unsettling.
Eye contact with yourself?
I think so, right? If you're staring into your own eyes through a computer screen, I think that counts.
But I can't stare at my own eyes because if I turn my head to look at myself, then I turn away from myself.
Yeah, so for me, it's a straight-on view. You know, these are the wonderful, what is it? Nuances, idiosyncrasies that come along with video, Greyson, and I'm so excited. You know, it's an exciting time. Boy, oh boy, season 2.
Is it an exciting
now
time?
No, I don't think the podcast is changing at all. You know, this is just more a way to market our attempt at self-preservation. You know, is that?
I like coffee.
Yeah, no, I can tell, but does that resonate with you? What I just said at all, or nah?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm already really uncomfortable.
Like recording yourself?
Yeah.
It was your idea. Well, I mean, technically,
I know.
I had the idea like back when we first started the podcast, like 10 or 15 weeks in. You remember that? Like I brought my camera over and it wasn't working whatsoever. And we gave up on it for a good like 135 weeks, you know? But now here we are again, and it was your idea. You were like, hey, we need to do video. I can upload it to YouTube, all this sort of. Well, I think maybe I volunteered you to be the one to upload it, but you were willing to take on the responsibility. And already today, like in the short time that we were together before starting this recording, I mean, I say short time, but it was 40 minutes. We've gone back and forth already, like multiple times, about whether or not we still want to do video. But here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Greyson,
maybe it's just an adjustment thing. I can say I've been streaming for a little bit now. I've done like 5 days of streaming.
Yeah, and you have video there.
And I have video there. Totally different feeling. Entirely different feeling. I don't know why. I feel so much more comfortable with the streaming thing. I can't explain it.
I really don't know either, but I'll give you the homework of trying to think up why that is. Is that okay? Can you do some introspection for us?
Okay.
I appreciate that.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me though, because you would think with the streaming, you can't make a mistake because it just goes out live. But with this, I can make a mistake and I can just get rid of it.
Well, you see, I think the difference, Greyson, is that you know the weight and influence that this show carries in comparison to your stream. You know, you're still a very young streamer and the audience is still being cultivated. So it's going out to very few people. Whereas on this show, the masses are going to witness you.
The millions of people who listen to Boy Oh Boy.
I mean, millions is being a bit humble, but that's absolutely right. So I get the intimidation, you know?
Yeah.
I really do. And now I also, because Friday is technically the start of my weekends now with this semester of school. So I have to make sure that I look semi-presentable now for Fridays, which is a bit unfortunate, you know?
I've had to make myself look good every day because of streaming. And by look good, I just mean put on a sweater, which is actually
I
kind of a lot right now.
It's a lot to put on a sweater.
Yeah, I'm gonna sneeze.
Okay.
I
That's
sneezed.
great. That's perfect for the show. So,
Normally
with you
people say
saying
bless you, but that's okay. I'll forgive you.
God bless you, Grayson.
Thank you very much.
You're so
But
welcome.
a sweater's a lot right now because I'm in front of like these big old bay window things,
Hmm.
and they're very nice. They're good to look at. I appreciate them. Very fun, but kind of hot. Get a lot of light. It's sort of hot.
Okay, that's good though, because I was expecting the direction of that to be very different. You know, when you said it was a lot to put on a jacket, I thought you meant like how people say like it's hard for them to get out of bed and put on their clothes in the morning. You know, like a crippling depression was afoot. But I'm glad to hear that's not the case. It's just heat.
Strangely enough, streaming seems to be helping with that.
Oh, helping with your crippling depression?
Yeah, because I
That's
have to
great.
get up.
That's
I'm
fair. You
forced
do
to.
have to get up. Also, you thrive like interacting with people and being around others. At least it seems that way. And so
Yeah,
I would imagine forcing yourself to do that like for considerably more hours each day is probably pretty helpful as well.
yeah, and I have a good time. I mean, the main
Yeah.
reason I wanted to stream was because I play video games a lot, and I always feel
Hmm.
really lonely.
Oh, good. Great. Well, then you're
Yeah,
already accomplishing your goal, you know? That's
yeah,
beautiful. That's
it's been
very,
great.
very
And
awesome.
then you're
But
gonna stream with me today, and that's gonna be fun.
that's absolutely right. I made a promise. I made myself an obligation to do so, and so we're gonna play Europa, my favorite game.
Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
don't like it all that much.
I mean, it's fine, but it's just I would not choose to spend my free time doing that per se. But now there's a purpose. Now there's a stream attached to it. So it'll be so special. It'll be so special, Grayson.
It'll be
But
great.
streaming is something that you've been saying for like a really long time now, like you're interested in doing and that you probably want to start doing it, and you never
Hmm.
did. And now you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
You waited until the end of quarantine when we were doing nothing, and right when school kicks in and you have other responsibilities, and but now's the time.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to know. It was the very first thing I wrote down on our list this week for the very first episode of season 2. Is why is now the time to become a professional streamer?
So I wanted to do it for a good long while, as you mentioned, but other things kind of just took precedent for a long while.
Hmm.
Most recently, it was the funeral in Illinois that took about a week. Before that, I had to wait to move into my apartment. So I was in South Carolina for like 2 months. Couldn't really stream there because I didn't have like even really a proper computer set up. So that wasn't really an option. Also, bad internet. So that just wasn't going to happen. Before that, I was packing up to move. So again, not a ton of access to computer or like a place to stream. Um,
So it really is
yeah,
just all stuff outside your control.
I I suppose there could have been like days where I could have streamed, but there would have been no
Hmm.
chance to like stream each day like I am right
Yeah,
now.
you
That
just didn't
makes
have the
sense.
environment for it.
Right.
Okay, well that's good then. I'm glad that the moment that you did have the environment, you decided to take advantage. That's awesome, Grayson. And so
I'm very happy.
now we are almost I mean almost a week into you streaming every single day for what'd you say the average length of a stream is for you so far?
So I would say 3 hours was the
Hmm.
normal amount, but yesterday I streamed for like 40 minutes. So
Oh, why such an
yeah.
abbreviated stream?
I was kind of tired, and then I figured, oh, I'll just stream with Will because Will wanted to be on a stream, so I would do like a quick stream with him.
Hmm.
So he just came on and we talked while I played Stardew Valley, but
Oh,
he
so
didn't
he
have a
made
lot
you
of time because he
play.
had to go for dinner,
Oh,
and so I
I
just ended the
gotcha.
stream.
Fair enough. Well, that's lovely. Well, aside from that, about 3 hours, that's good. And it seems like a pretty huge commitment, though, right? Like, because I know that you mentioned too, because I did stream with you already. We did that on Tuesday, and we played some Minecraft mini games and Draw My Thing. It
My
was
favorite.
a wonderful one. I did think Draw My Thing was fantastic. It was a wonderful a wonderful time. And you were worried though, because the next day I think is when your classes were officially starting on Wednesday,
Hmm.
and you weren't sure how you were going to be able to maintain that consistency. But it sounds like you did
Yeah.
it, right?
The first day of classes, I still streamed for like 3-ish hours after class, like way longer than I thought I was going to, maybe even close to
Hmm.
4 hours.
Oh wow.
Um, but yesterday I didn't. Yesterday
Oh.
was like 40 minutes.
Yeah, but
So
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. On Wednesday, your first day, you were still able to do it for that regular amount of time. And so,
yeah,
how?
but you got to
That,
think that was only 2 class days this week.
oh,
Next week I'll have
okay.
4.
Why didn't you have class at the beginning of the week?
Classes just started on Wednesday.
Oh,
That's just how
that's
UT does
weird.
it. I don't know.
I
UT's weird
gotcha.
like that. They just kind of make up their own rules as they go along.
Yeah. How many classes are you taking right now, by the way?
I have 3 business classes and 2 psychology classes.
Okay, so five is the answer. You just
Yeah.
you broke it down for no
I felt
reason.
like delineating them because business classes are difficult and awful. Psych
Oh, I
classes are
see.
kind of a joke.
Yeah, that's fair. So have you had all of them so far then?
The 2 psych classes are self-paced, so I just haven't even looked at them
Oh,
yet.
asynchronous.
I was
Okay.
planning on doing that tomorrow.
But also all your classes are just on your computer anyways, right? You're not even having to leave your apartment.
Right.
So I forgot about that. That's crazy. So are you just staying in your apartment like 24/7?
Pretty much. Yesterday I went out and got pizza.
I guess it's a that's good. And it's good that you do have the social interaction of the stream now. But that's
Yeah.
crazy
No,
because
if
with
I
my
did not
news,
have Dream, I would have gone insane already.
it's crazy. Because I like with my new schedule too, I have a couple classes in person. Like two of my classes are in person, and then one of them is split 50-50, right? So
Hmm.
I can leave the house at least 5 times a week for like a couple hours. But aside from that, I am just here in this room that you see in the video, and it's really unfortunate, you know. It's gonna be. I feel the loneliness already, like sort of coming on. It
Yeah.
happens at the beginning of every semester, like after I leave my family, right, or at least the beginning of the
Hmm.
fall semesters. And before, what had happened was I met my girlfriend, and then we just talked all the time because I was long distance, right? And now this is
Hmm.
the first semester I don't have that, and so I am certain that something's gonna happen where I collapse within the next few weeks. You know, once the reality of the situation sets in, it's gonna be
You
rough.
just gotta stream with me all the time.
I think that is the answer. You know, because I was
Yeah.
convinced. You remember the storytelling I did last week about all my experience at the internship?
Hmm.
I was convinced based on conversations that had been had that I was gonna have a new person to like sort of fill that in with and then to sort of talk to a bunch. But now I don't. And so all that preparation is gone to waste, and I don't know what to do. So I guess streaming is the answer.
Yeah. It's the answer.
I
And it's
think
gonna be
so.
great. You're gonna I can tell you though, even
Hmm.
with streaming, it's awful. It's so lonely. I've gone out and hung out with my friends a couple times, and it's still just
Hmm. Are you
ugh,
are you
ugh.
being a responsible student and socially distancing and wearing masks?
Yes.
Yes. Wow. I'm very proud of you. Wow. Wow. And then what have these little get-togethers looked like aside from masks
Um.
and 6 feet
So
apart?
one of them was when I went over to my friend Cash's like condo,
Mm-hmm.
and he had some of his buds over, and we just sat in a circle, kind of in his
Mm-hmm.
living room, and just talked for like 5 hours.
That's nice. That sounds pleasant.
It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah. So can you just plan on doing more stuff like that?
Well, it's kind of hard to get people together, you know?
I yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
when I play like social things,
mm-hmm.
I have like 2 groups of friends or like a delineation between my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Half of my friends are really good at like showing up on time to any commitment they make.
Yeah.
And then the other my half of my friends are the flakiest people in the world. And there's no in between.
Okay. I was waiting for a bit
So
of expansion on all that, or is that?
no. That's it. I just mean like it's hard to plan things with all your
Mm-hmm.
friends if half of them there's like a
I
fifty
guess
fifty
so.
percent chance to
Yeah.
go up because
Well then,
how do you plan out drinks, food, and like activities.
Did you say
Like if you
drinks?
plan to play Settlers of Catan and you invite over 5 people because that's how many people you can play with, but only one of the people shows up and suddenly you're playing Catan with 2 people, that's garbage. That's
Excuse
bad.
you. Did you say drinks? Was that the first thing on your list?
Like sparkling water, yes.
Is that what you do? You guys get together and you pop open some sparkling water?
Yes.
Wow, that's really lovely, Grayson. That's incredible. That really
Were you
is.
thinking alcoholic beverages?
Well, no, I was thinking that you were trying to create that image in people's minds, but I knew full well that wasn't what was happening, you know?
No, I don't drink.
Yes, no, I'm aware. That's okay. Well, I hope you can create more of those gatherings. I hope your loneliness doesn't set in and cripple you in the way that I'm expecting it will for myself. And
Thank you.
I yes, you're so welcome. You are so welcome. By the way, for the next stream that we do, if that is later today at the time of this recording, there's a game where I think it's a game. I'm not even quite sure, but it's basically where you have a conversation with like 3 people and but you put it all into like an AI sort of story generator, and it's really cool and very interesting. And maybe you know what I'm
Are you
talking
talking about
about.
AI Dungeon?
Maybe that might be it. But I saw a video of it today, and it was incredible. And so I'm a big proponent. If you ever need any suggestions in the future.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
I'm slowly building a list of JC suggestions at this point.
Okay.
'Cause we
I
got
think my
Pokemon
suggestions were limited to like 2, but still, I appreciate the list. Pokemon and AI Dungeon. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But I want to hear then, because we know that you started streaming. We know that's been consistent. We know that it's something that you're doing. And also, where can people find the stream? I don't think you even said.
It's twitch.tv/gray_the_gray.
Perfect. And now with that plug that I was so gracious to give you, you're going to have to feel the fear of having your webcam on because, again, the masses are going to be attracted to your stream. So I apologize.
The masses.
That was short-sighted on my part. I'm also,
You know,
as part of this being season 2 and having video, Grayson, I'm also hyper aware now that I can't cut out as many mistakes, you know? Like if I fumble over something and I'm editing it and I just happen to hear it again, or if there's like, if at any point one of us screws up and we want something edited out, it's so much more of a hassle now. Because like the audio is going to be screwed up and we can't like do a jump cut in the video. It's a mess and I'm freaking out in my own head. But it's okay because
we
it's
can
season
just
2
mute
and life
the
is great.
audio as the video keeps going and really confuse people.
We can. That does. But like last
Or like
week
if there's a really long portion that we have to change, then what we do is we cut out the audio and we start playing like a cartoon song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where like the cartoon characters would be running around frantically or something like that. And then we put text over it that says, ignore this. And then people will ignore it.
So you are our official video editor for Boy Oh Boy. So that if that's what you desire, I mean, you are more than welcome to act.
I mean, it sounds a lot better than trying to re-splice everything over and over, you know?
It does. It sounds like more effort as well, though. So, but again, these are decisions for you, the official executive editor of Boy Oh Boy's video, to make, and that's a big responsibility. But I trust you to make it. I trust that judgment.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So you're very welcome for that vote of faith. But we know you're
genuinely spending all of this time just staring at myself.
Same.
It's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's so. But if you're staring at yourself, doesn't that mean the video is just picking up the side of your face?
Yeah. I'm kind of okay with that though, because my like 45 is way better than my head on.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's good. I feel like the only angle I can ever justify myself looking even semi-decent on or with is straight on, because the moment I see it for myself from the side, I think like, oh my God, my chin's too weak, my nose is too big, all the problems in the world. But if you look straight on, all you see is like the eyes and then curly hair, and it's fine, I don't know.
For me, it's a thing of my face is so dang wide that face on, just a block. Just a brick.
I see. It is quite block-like. That is the thought that pops in my mind often.
You don't really see the width of it as much.
I see. That makes sense. Works. I'm glad you got it figured out then. I'm glad that hopefully that alleviates some of the pressure and anxiety from recording yourself,
You know what's really alleviating the pressure and anxiety right now?
What is that?
How white my teeth look.
Ooh, I think you're just overexposed right now because we were trying to do the video like together before the podcast started, and then it slowed down our like ability to hear one another, and it was a mess. And so now we can't see each other, like I already mentioned. But when I did, you were just so white, like fluorescent looking.
Yeah.
And so I don't. Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that necessarily, because either I have any amount of lighting in that I open my windows, or I like close my windows.
Theoretically, I don't know how the Mac
light.
works or the webcam that you have works, but there are probably settings to adjust like your ISO, and then you can just like lower or raise that accordingly, you know?
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know either. You'd have to figure it out. But that'd be a good way
Yeah.
to help with exposure. I think my lighting setup is, I mean, at least as far as I can see, it is perfect because I just have this window right in front of my desk, and it shines down on me. My background's like pretty dim and dark, and it's just it's beautiful, beautiful lighting. So I'm proud.
Lucky you.
And thank you.
I don't
Thank
got
you.
that.
No, you
Mine's
don't.
too
No, you don't.
much.
It is. It is. The sun is intense in Texas. I miss Texas, Grayson. I already miss it so much. I don't like being here.
You don't like being in New York?
No, I really don't. And like for the longest time, I tried to convince myself that I did, or like I tried to convince myself I wanted to be here because this is where I would have to be for like wrestling stuff and radio stuff. But oh my God, am I uncomfortable in this place? And I just want to be home.
And then just come home. Transfer to
I am.
UT.
No, I'm not gonna do that because I have to graduate. Otherwise, that will add like another year and a half onto my education, which is entirely unnecessary. But once I get finished up this spring, I'm coming home, man. You know, I'm gonna try.
It'll be great. You're gonna live in Austin, right?
I mean, it depends on where I get into school.
You're gonna live in Austin, right?
It depends on where I get into school.
Which is in Austin, right?
I would hope so. Austin would definitely be my number one choice, but I also know that UT Austin, the ideal school for me, doesn't have a counseling program that isn't at a doctoral level, and I would prefer to just get my master's because I'm not interested in doing any of like the research and sciencey stuff that comes along with the doctorate program. And it's also
I
like
hate science. Science
years
is
long.
dumb.
Science is so dumb, man. You know, I appreciate people who do the science and figure out the science for me, right? Like that can be pretty helpful sometimes, but I don't want to do it because it's dumb.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I feel like science has genuinely done damage to psychology, just as a field.
Well,
You know?
it depends. Because how are you defining psychology as a field? You know, because I feel like the modern definition is an incorporation of science. It's a social science, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that's wrong. That's dumb.
Oh, I see. Well, I think there is something to studying biology, but I think there's also something to having a hyper focus on biology and biological roots and causes and sort of ignoring the rest, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Cool. Well, Grayson, I've been trying to get to this question now for probably 15 minutes, but we established you're a streamer. We established we don't like science, but I want to know, how has your first 2 days of classes been? And also, what psychology classes are you taking?
Okay. So, first, how my classes have been. They were fine. They were kind of long. And it was like the introduction one, you know, so we didn't really do much.
Oh. Okay.
I'm very concerned with the amount of work I'm going to have.
Same.
Because it's more classes than I've taken so far. 'Cause I guess that's just how UT does things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be wild. And doing that while also trying to stream every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so tired already.
Yeah, but like being tired from doing a lot of work is better than being tired from doing no work, you know? Because when you're
Yes.
tired from doing no work, you just want to kill yourself. But when you're tired from doing a lot of work, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing stuff." Like you have that sort of silver lining that you can sort of look to at the end of the night when you're trying to go to sleep and it's not working. Yeah. But that's good. So I know you said that it was an intro. You're not in an intro psych course, right? It was just like the introductory course because it was your first day.
I figured out this loophole, basically. So I'm not going to declare a psych major for a little bit. And it's because I figured out this loophole. Basically, as long as when you're a psych major, in order to do like all the upper division psychology classes, you have to take this very specific psych class.
Okay.
And it's kind of like the prerequisite for all the upper level stuff. And I haven't taken it because I'm not a psych major, so I can't take it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not a psych major, you're able to take upper level psychology classes as long as you have one of like a whole bunch of different random courses. One of these courses is this stupid easy educational psychology class that I just happen to have taken.
Mm-hmm.
And again, dumb easy. Like so easy it's mind-blowing that it's a college class. But I took it. And so I can sign up for a whole bunch of like upper level, upper division psychology classes without being a psych major and without taking the prerequisite.
That's pretty sick. But I mean, I don't know. That seems like a pretty big, what is it? Lack of foresight on the school's part then, no? Or a lapse in judgment? Because why?
Yeah.
I feel like if you were a psych major right now and you had already made that switch, because you already have the other prerequisite, I think you would still be allowed in.
No.
No. That's really
No, I
dumb.
checked with the Loki. He is a psych major.
It's stupid.
And then I also read through all of the prerequisites. Like I went onto the UT psychology page and I read their pathing.
Yeah. So what do you then gain by delaying becoming a psych major? You know, aside from not being able to take these upper
pile on more of the upper division psych classes right now versus taking one psych class right now. So I can take 2 psych classes this semester instead of just taking the one prereq for all the upper division stuff.
Yeah, I understand that, but at some point you're going to have to do a semester where it's just the one psych class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll do that in a semester when I'm going to do a bunch of business stuff.
Oh, I see.
Because with like even my business stuff right now, I'm kind of like walled off from some of the really high level stuff in my degree plan. So yeah,
I gotcha. That does make sense.
It kind of just fits right now.
Good job on figuring that all out, because that sounds like a mess. So great stuff.
It is.
Greyson.
It's an absolute mess.
Still haven't told me though. What are the courses that you're in right now? What are the psych courses? What are the names?
So it's abnormal psychology.
Oh, that's
and child behavior something or another. Here, let me find it. So it's abnormal psychology and then behavior problems of children.
That's awesome. So you're basically in 2 abnormal psych classes. Just
yes.
One's going to focus on like conduct and oppositional defiant disorder. That's nice. And encopresis and enuresis, Greyson, you'll get to learn about those. That's fun.
Wow, that sounds awful.
Why does that sound awful?
I hate the terms. I like all this stuff where you're just like, haha, brain funny. That's what I like about psychology.
But do you know what those are, right?
Nope. I didn't really even hear what you said.
Okay. I forget which is which. Oh, no, I don't forget. Encopresis is when you shit your bed, and enuresis is when you piss your bed.
Yeah, I have I didn't know those.
Okay. Well, but my point is, though, you still get that, what you were just saying, like the fun mental haha. Like, I think that still falls into those categories, right? Just with different words.
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm glad then. That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I had that. Like, I wish I could take more abnormal psych classes, but I don't think we have that here. Like, we don't have one specific to childhood. And I already did abnormal psych last semester. But I'm glad you're taking it now, because this weekend, like, I think this Sunday, we're going to be recording the very first episode of the Abnormal podcast. And so the fact that you'll have that to go along with that pronouns,
that.
It's going to be interesting because you will have some actual insight, which is going to be helpful, I think, you know?
Oh, really? You don't like my current insight?
I think your current insight is great, but I also think having more informed insight, you know, having a reason for you to look at that stuff outside of just the podcast will also be helpful, you know? But also,
and just to clarify, the only sections you want me to do are the famous people and the etymology.
Though, I mean, we can discuss that afterwards because there is more, I think. But those 2 for sure, I can leave to you, I think. But then also, I think there are other ones where the 2 of us can both do our independent research and then like sort of convene and be like, oh, I found this stuff that you didn't find, you know? Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of it we can just sit down and do it together. Like, I don't feel like it'll take that long.
But I also plan on like, I don't know. When I do research and stuff, I just write down everything, and I spend a lot of time. I don't know. I think for some of it, sure, we can definitely do that. But I will want to do my own research outside of stuff. I would feel more
Okay.
comfortable with that. Yeah. But that is a good idea. A very good idea. And I don't know when it's going to be going up yet. We still don't even have a separate RSS feed created yet. It's not been submitted to Google, iTunes, any of that. But we do have a theme song, and we do have
Yes.
a concept and a first disorder. So all that to look forward to. And hopefully that podcast can garner some semblance of success and listenership after
Unlike
145
this
weeks.
podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the goal. Which you said, you were saying like in our text messages, I think like yesterday, that you think it could garner some sort of fan base or listening, which I'm doubtful
Yeah, I
of.
feel like
And
it's niche enough where people will be like, "Oh, this is an actual topic and not just us
Mhm.
spewing nonsense." And then
Yeah, but
also we're uninformed enough to
mhm.
still be interesting, you know?
I I don't know. Could you mind expanding on that?
So like, you know when you listen to someone who's super 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 educated on a field, they
Hmm.
just talk a bunch of jargon and it's all meaningless and you're like, it's like a lecture. But when you have someone who's like mostly educated on a field, they can talk about it, but they're better at like making it normal speech, talking about it like a regular person.
I guess so. But ideally, the goal would be to have that jargon level knowledge, but being able to communicate it in layman's terms, you know?
Yeah, that's the ideal situation. But there's
Okay.
like not that many people who can do that in the world.
Well,
Very
hopefully
few.
we get there. Hopefully, after doing the abnormal podcast for as long as we've done this one, we'll be official experts, you know? It'll be so big that we get like sort of honorary
Honorary psychology
like
degrees.
licensing, yeah, to practice and prescribe medication even, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that is something to look forward to, and I think at that point we will have honed our craft so well that we could communicate to such a vast audience. That's exciting,
Wow.
Grayson. That's really exciting. But the Abnormal
Extremely
Podcast
exciting.
is coming up. I am actually excited about it. I have today and tomorrow to do all my research for it. I am excited. Do we say our first disorder? I don't think anyone cares. I don't think anyone's even listening right now, but should we say it?
Sure.
Nah, let's not say it. I don't know. I was hoping you'd say the
Okay.
opposite answer. Yeah. But okay, so you're in fun classes. You're in like the most interesting psychology classes you're probably going to take in your undergraduate, at least with abnormal.
Yes.
But what are your
Yes.
business classes then?
So in business, I'm in financial accounting, like the second financial accounting, not the first one, the second one. I'm in
Hmm.
marketing, which I've been putting off for so long because I hate marketing. I actually resent marketing.
Okay, now
Like
Grayson.
I've signed up for I think two professors before this professor, and then dropped the
Hmm.
classes because I was like, I can't take this. I can't deal with it.
My dear
I hate
friend,
marketing.
just
Yes.
just yesterday you were like, I think the podcast, the abnormal podcast that we're going to be starting, can be really successful if we market it correctly. And
Yeah.
I signed you up for that, being like, oh, okay, then you can be our marketing guy. And you're going to be taking a
Yeah.
marketing class, but are you going to let your biases already against marketing let you like get in the way of your ability to do that job well?
Probably. I
Okay,
hate
I'd
marketing.
appreciate if you didn't. What do you hate about it?
I don't know.
Is this like when you said that you hate psychology and then you learned about
No.
psychology? Okay. Okay.
I
Uh,
actually like every time I sign up for a marketing class, I just hate it.
how
I
long have
just
you stayed? What's the longest you stayed in a marketing class before you dropped it?
I think 3 weeks was the longest.
That is a while.
And
I
I
mean,
couldn't deal with it, so I dropped it.
but
I
it's a
think this one
requirement
will
though,
turn
right?
out okay because this professor focuses more on like personal marketing, like marketing yourself.
Ooh, branding.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but even still, it's gonna be awful. It's gonna be so bad.
But what about it? Like, what about that knowledge and that education isn't appealing to you? What made you
I
drop
don't
it?
know.
Clearly, you know, because multiple times you've dropped
No,
it as a result of,
it's just it
no?
causes me great agony and anguish to be in a class about it.
Okay. Well, then I have two homework assignments for you. Okay, there's the one from earlier, but I also want you to do some more introspection and figure out why it is that marketing makes you so sad. Okay?
It's because it does.
Okay. Again, homework. You know, we can give it some time. But That's
It's
good.
gonna be the same answer.
Marketing, abnormal, child psych. What are the other ones? You mentioned you're taking a second
And
version of
then
another
I'm
class.
in valuation, which is a finance class.
I see. How fun. I mean, honestly, dude, your school stuff outside of like the fun classes you take sounds so miserable. Like I have not the slightest inclination or interest in any of it.
So like the business stuff, it's interesting, but it's definitely not fun. Like the psych stuff is fun, but the business stuff, it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
just interesting,
Is
and
it
I can deal with
though?
that.
It doesn't sound
Yeah, like finance
interesting.
is really interesting to me, like genuinely interesting.
That's good.
I don't know what
But
I
you
would do for like career choices because here's the thing. I'd like to do behavioral finance as a career in finance,
okay.
but I don't know how necessarily to even break into that field.
What
And
is the
if you're
field?
going to do finance,
No, no, no. Behavioral finance. I mean, like, what does that
oh,
consist of?
behavioral
What does that
finance
look
is
like?
where you use psychology to like think about how investors will react to different market information so that you can use that to get superior yields.
You realize that's social psychology, the specific subsection of psychology you hate the most, right?
Yeah,
Okay, just making sure.
kind of okay with that though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then you should
Yeah.
read. Have you? Well, maybe you've already read it. Have you read Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely or no?
No, but I think it's been recommended to me before.
Okay, yeah, I read that like about a year ago, and it was really good. And it is just about social psychology in relation to like how people view money and economics, and like it's a very sort of statistical way of looking at social psychology about like how
Hmm.
the idea of labeling something as free like has like an effect on something that overrides your logical thinking, and how
Hmm.
people are like I forget the actual terms for it, but the idea that you'll be willing to drive like 15 minutes more to go to another store that's going to charge you seven less dollars on like a $30 priced item, but you wouldn't do the same to save $7 on like a TV, something that's worth way more. So it's very interesting and it's really cool. And the dude conducts so many experiments that he talks about, and also he has a really interesting backstory too. Like I think it was part of like maybe a bombing when he lived in the Middle East, and he ended up like having these severe burns like all over his body, and then he recovered from that and he became a doctor, and so he's cool. I like him.
Okay.
You should read that book is the point. But that
Okay.
because that is essentially exactly what you're talking about. I think. I hope. But that's cool.
But
Like that would be
what I
really
was
awesome
thinking
if
about
that's what you were able to
the
make a
field of
career in.
finance, though. Yeah, it'd be great to make a
Oh,
career,
true.
but the issue is the field within the field of finance. The typical thing you do if you're going to go into finance is you'll probably like sign up with a brokerage or with an investment bank. And when you start out with one of those companies, normally you're working for like 100 hours a week and doing nothing else for like 3 years.
Uh huh.
And that's just the route. And I don't really want to do that. I don't want to work for 100 hours a week doing something in the field of finance that isn't even what I'm interested in.
I
You know?
guess so, but I mean, I'm sure you can find another way into it, right? Like
Well, the
less
typical path
formal
is
and.
you go and you do like a basic level thing at an investment bank or a brokerage or something like that,
Hmm.
and then they'll stick you into doing something you're better equipped for. Like as long like
I
it's
see.
kind of like a rite of passage thing. Like you have to stick out the 3 years of 100-hour work weeks, and then they'll give you a good job.
What are you even doing in a 100-hour work week for like finance? Like, what? You're sitting
It's
at a
just
desk typing numbers?
kind of, yeah. It's a lot of
That's
like writing up valuations, a lot of market research. Yeah, it's not great.
miserable. Like,
It's not the most fantastic thing, but in the meantime, on those 100-hour work weeks, you're making like 40, $50 an hour.
oh, great. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that is good and way more than like I think most people get for that entry level work, right? But it makes sense though. You're working 100 hours a week and dedicating your life to something miserable, right?
I know a guy who's getting paid $50 an hour for his internship in investment banking.
It's ridiculous. And is it like legit
Yeah.
no overtime, 100 hours a week? Like you're getting paid for all those hours?
No, it's a
Oh,
lot of it's overtime. Not overtime. What is it? You even said the word.
I said overtime.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
It just kind of like averages out to like $50 an hour
Okay.
because a lot
I
of it is
gotcha.
overtime pay.
That's ridiculous, but good for you. I mean, if that is what you do, but not good for you because that sounds miserable, and you wouldn't really have time to develop much outside of your work during those
Yeah.
3 years. And
You're not
also,
supposed to. You're supposed to throw away your life for 3 years and then you're good.
yeah, but also the work sounds very solitary as well. And we were already talking about how just being in your apartment right now is enough to drive you insane. But the idea that you would just spend all your time working with numbers and barely interacting with others, then going home to sleep and coming back, I can't see you doing that. I don't think you would do that.
I don't know. I hope I don't have to, but it
Hmm.
might be the route I just have to go to break into the field.
That's crazy. Can't you just have connections? Can't we just utilize some nepotism and then you get a better job to start off with
I
or
don't
a more
have
interesting
really
one?
any connections.
You, I mean, but that's where you're at right now in
The
your
one connection I like
burgeoning
could
career.
actually use, like properly use, is I like the family friends who run the water store. You remember
Hmm.
them?
Oh, I do.
The owner, he wants me to be his CFO,
Ooh,
like
for
take
his
over
water
the
store on Days of
for
Allah.
his water store. Yeah, he already
Wow,
is making a second location, so there's
I do
that.
remember. That's true. Is that what you want to put all your time into though? Is the
No,
water industry? I didn't think so. Okay.
honestly, the water there is pretty fantastic. Like
Okay.
moving to South Carolina after living in San Antonio, I've kind of realized how great I had it with that water.
Okay. I see.
And then especially now that I'm in my apartment, I'm drinking the water out of like the fridge filter.
Hmm.
It's so bad.
I'm
You
sorry to
don't
hear
realize
that.
how bad some water is until you've had good water and like drank it
Hmm.
for an extended period of time.
I get it. Your life is tough, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
pretty difficult.
Hmm. I'm really sorry to hear that, but I mean, I guess that is some motivation to
To work
dedicate
for the
your.
water store.
Yeah, exactly. To put that time and effort in. That makes
Yeah, that's
sense.
what I'm
That makes
saying.
sense.
At
But
least I
I
have
meant
that
more.
motivation. That's good water.
I meant more connections that you're making now, like in school with professors and like different professionals. Like last semester, you were working like at that tax place, right? So like connections you
Hmm.
made there, and then again like the professors that you have sort of relationships with, and
I
then
have like any
going from that.
relationship with one professor, literally one.
Is he at all involved in the world of finance?
No,
Okay, well, never mind. But Grayson, why aren't you doing internships? You know, because they help. So like connections, I
I've
think are
applied for
everything.
like multiple internships in the past. But here's the thing:
Oh, yeah,
I go to a top 10 business school with hundreds of business students, all vying for internships at the same time,
that's fair.
and it
But
was I couldn't find an internship before the whole market downturn.
hmm
There's no way I'm gonna find one for like another 6 months at least.
yeah, would you be willing to do an
'Cause-
internship unpaid?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Because I mean, even with internships, I was gonna say you need to do internships so then you make those connections. But also, I've realized that both the internships I've done so far have been directly through connections. You know, and
mm,
so it's really, it's a bit unfortunate. But I'm trying to
yeah.
think of like anyone I even know that's like, oh, they're a finance person, but I don't know jack shit, man. Like,
Two of
I.
my professors, two of the three professors I've had classes with so far, have
Mm-hmm.
both specifically said, "Yeah, there's no way companies are going to be hiring students right now. It's going to
I
be
mean,
a
that makes sense.
disaster."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. It's like
So
terrible timing.
you're interested in psychology and you're interested in finances. What if I, well, no, because it'd be in San Antonio, so you won't be able to do it. I was gonna say, with like the place that I worked this past summer, I'm
Yes.
sure, like knowing how lenient they were and how much they just like went on the fly with everything they had me do, they'd probably be open to having an intern there who's like focused specifically on finance, and then just
Wouldn't that be
giving you access to
fantastic?
all their financial information for a couple months, you know?
Wow.
That'd be sick. It'd be fantastic. But I don't know.
After you leaving such a good impression with them, I
Hmm.
would just be the worst intern.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend you, I don't think. Like, I was excited when I had the idea of, like, oh, maybe Alohi can do this next summer because I trust Alohi to do, like, a really great job and, like, be really good at it. But I I don't know. I don't know if I can trust that you'll put in that same amount of effort.
Oh, I would put in the effort. I would be more concerned that I'm such a know-it-all that I would just
Oh,
disagree with all of their therapy methods, you know?
I see. Yeah,
I think that's my concern.
a lot of them too do practice EMDR, which I don't know how read up you are on it, but really right now it is just purely theoretical, and there's just no explanation for why it works. It just sort of happens to work, and so I imagine you would probably have a couple gripes with it,
Probably
just a few. Yeah, yeah,
one or two.
maybe, but that's good. I'm glad that you have all these classes worked out, and are you looking? Are you open to doing an internship while you're in school as well, or not really?
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on the internship. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like right now. I'm so busy and I'm freaking out
Hmm.
about how busy I'm gonna be
Yeah.
that I probably wouldn't do like some random internship. But if like a really great internship, like if Google's finance department was like, "Hey, we'll give you an internship," obviously I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
gonna turn
gotcha.
that down.
So realistically, no, you're not open to doing an internship right now, unless God placed one in your lap.
Kinda.
Okay, that makes
I'm
sense.
gonna
It's the
keep
same
applying. Like I'm
mentality.
still applying for internships. I
Oh,
need
I
to figure
gotcha.
out one for this coming summer, hopefully in
Mm-hmm.
New York.
Hopefully. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know though. I mean, I feel like most places too don't even start opening up their applications till like March, you know? It's
Oh no,
ridiculous.
that's not even slightly true in the
Oh.
business world. Normally, you
Oh
need to
no.
have your internship for the summer lined up at the beginning of fall semester.
Oh. Well then
Like it
you're
normally
already looking for
happens
it.
like 2 weeks from now is when recruiting starts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my broadcasting ones that I've tried, and again, I failed every time trying to get into a broadcasting one, but they always put up their applications like the month or two leading up to it, and it's so frustrating because you can't prepare. And then
Hmm.
literally all the other ones, it's just been like the week of reaching out to the people, being like, "Yep, you can start now," and then it's like, "Okay, I guess this is what I'm doing," you know?
Good for you.
So yeah, I mean, I guess good for me. I'd prefer to know now what I'm going to be doing during the summer, but that's just not how it works. So I have no clue.
Mm.
I have no clue. But I mentioned last week that I'm looking for like those volunteer opportunities, which I still need to reach out to places because I'm in the same boat as you of being worried about how much work I'll have this semester. Because
Hmm.
I think I've told you a little bit about my journalism classes this semester and the next one, where they're going to be like my busiest ones because they're my sort of like capstone courses for it for my major.
Hmm.
And basically, like I had to have all my other classes aside from that one on Mondays and Wednesdays because on the days when I have the journalism class, we're not allowed to have anything else scheduled because it's supposed to take up the entire day. So, and I don't enjoy journalism. I don't enjoy recording stuff with the camera. I don't enjoy how high pressure it is. Like none of it because like I trust myself to do pretty well in the course, right? But what terrifies me and makes me so stressed out every single semester I have one of these type of classes is the fact that something completely outside of my control can be responsible for me doing getting a worse grade or performing poorly. You know? Like
Hmm.
the idea that I can have everything set up and I can put tons and tons of preparation into this story I'm going to be doing on one of the Tuesdays, and then the day of, I get an email saying like, "Oh, I have to cancel the interview that we had set up," and then you're fucked, you know? Or like you can go out to start recording something. And there's like a problem with the camera and nothing's working, or you get back to the studio and your audio didn't record properly, and there's
Mm.
just the only way to prevent that sort of stuff is to be even more prepared. So like having backup interviews, but like how realistic is that? Because you don't want to piss people off by having them be a backup and not tell them they're a backup. And if you tell them they're a backup, they're not going to want to do it. And then same with like the video equipment. The idea theoretically is that you'd be checking everything all the time to make sure there are no technical difficulties, but in practice that's impossible because you're one person required to be putting together this story on your own. So the idea that you're constantly checking to make sure the cameras and everything is in, it's just annoying. And I'm
Hmm.
afraid that because now, like I was always able to justify and sort of get rid of the fears by being like, your grades don't matter. All you have to do is graduate, you know? But now with the fact that I do want to go to graduate school, it's like, oh, now your grades sort of matter. And I'm hoping, I'm
Mhm.
praying that, because all my grades that are below an A, all my A minuses so far have come from communications classes. It's been in
Mhm.
my, yeah, it's all been communications. So I'm hoping that when like the schools that I'm applying to look at my GPA, they'll see like as far as psychology and my core goes, it's a 4.0, right?
Mhm.
But then it's the stupid classes that have no impact on anything related to psychotherapy or psychology that I did poorly in, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm afraid about that. And I'm also afraid about the overworking thing, which I'm afraid of every semester, you know? And every time it ends up being fairly unrealistic because it's just, I stress myself out. And then because I have a lot of work, but then I get the work done. And then I end up like with where I'm at right now in this moment of time where I have today, tomorrow, and Sunday, or literally I have nothing to do, you know?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have that. This is
Yeah.
not going to be an easy semester for me.
Yeah. I, because generally, how many courses do you take? It's four, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think then we're flipped this semester too, in the sense that usually I take five or six, and now I'm taking four because I can only take four. Uh,
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'd be taking additional credits that I don't need. And, uh, oh, but no, the point is that it's flipped because right now you're doing more, not the four. It's crazy, but you'll do
Mhm.
it. It'll be fine, Grayson. The only thing is like you are starting up the streaming stuff and all those responsibilities. But I remember
Mhm.
even back during all your other semesters, you did have a lot of free time, I think, but you just didn't really call it that. Like you would just, it was a time when you would do nothing, right? Like you do nothing a lot. Is that fair?
It's sort of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fake nothing. Because I have
Okay.
like periods of time where I just lay there as if I'm doing nothing, but I spend all that time like thinking about things.
Oh,
And
I
that's my
gotcha.
favorite activity. Not really my
So
favorite
then what?
activity. It's like the activity that keeps me sane.
Yeah.
Keeps me running.
So what? Instead, can we try to implement that with the streaming, and then you just you do all that contemplation live on the air, and then you don't give
No,
up
because
any
it's
one for
mostly
the other.
silent.
Mostly silent, you said?
Yeah. What I've
Oh.
tried to do in the past is I'll merge it with like watching TV or something.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can like, because I obviously want to watch a certain amount of TV because I enjoy that,
Yeah.
or like YouTube, something else. So I merge that with my contemplation time,
I
thinking
see.
time.
I see. So what about the classes is gonna cause you so much work? Like, is there a lot
I
of
think a
like?
big part of it is uh, it's just online, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
in when it's like the regular class stuff, I get out, I do the lectures, and that's one set thing. And then I go back to my like dorm, or that's what it was in previous semesters. I go back to my dorm
Yeah.
and then I do the homework, and that's like a separate set thing. But
Mm-hmm.
since I'm doing the lectures at home already, it feels like the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So it feels like one big blob of stuff to do
That
rather
makes
than like
sense.
segmented blobs.
Yeah.
And I
Does
think that's
your
difficult
Does your
for me.
apartment complex have like a study quiet room sort of deal? Because I think it's mostly students, right?
I think they kind of do in the leasing office. It's more like a meeting room.
Okay.
But if you're
Well,
saying I should go somewhere else to do it, no, because I
no.
have a desktop. I do my classes on a desktop.
Oh, I gotcha. Well then, oh, I would say too, then just like go into your living room and like do stuff there, but that doesn't work either. Yeah,
Nope.
I have no clue. I have no clue how to make that separation. That's the same reason though that people say like, hey, don't have your desk in your bedroom because blah blah blah. But
Oh, my
it's
desk is
stupid.
in my bedroom.
Yes, 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 it
I don't
is.
agree with that theory though about the whole like don't be on your phone in bed because your bed's for sleeping. It's
It's
like
just a
come on.
mental block for people, you know? Like just don't have I mean it's the same. You could say the same thing about like any sort of mental illness, but the idea of just like don't let yourself think that and then you won't think it, right? Like
Yeah.
be able to be smart enough to separate when you're supposed to be sleeping and when you're supposed to be working. It shouldn't matter if they're a foot apart or two rooms apart, you know?
Mhm.
But then I could say the
Mhm.
same thing to you right now and be like, well, don't have that problem. Be able to separate your lectures from your homework, from your free time, you know? But
Yeah, and I should.
that's,
I should do that. That's a good idea.
yeah, thank you. I put a lot of thought into it. But
Yeah.
that's not how things work. But yeah, that's lame. I'm sure you'll figure it out though. I hope what you're experiencing right now is what I experienced at the beginning of every semester, where it's the initial like onslaught of anxiety and fear and stress at like the unknown of what the semester is going to look like, and then once I start experiencing it and getting a hold on everything, that all sort of fades. So I hope that's what's happening, and once you get used to it, it'll be normal.
One of the things that always stresses me out
Hmm.
is when we do like the introductions and all the classes. What you do
Oh.
in business school is you introduce yourself, you say where you're from, your major, and then normally what you do is if you had an internship over the last summer, you'll
Hmm.
say what your internship was. So that's kind of like how
Oh.
you value people in the business school is based off of their
Yeah.
internships. And I'm a junior and I haven't had an internship yet.
Hmm.
And that's not an uncommon thing. Like in fact, I would say most business students haven't had an internship by their junior year. By their senior
Hmm.
year, they probably have, but most by their junior year haven't. But it's just in among everyone who says like, "Oh yeah, I worked at TD Ameritrade all summer. I
Hmm.
worked at Berkshire Hathaway."
Ooh.
It's like it makes you feel so bad that you haven't done anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I would feel shitty too if that were the position I was in. I was actually in the opposite position in my clinical psych class, Grayson, because we went around
Mm.
and we did essentially just that. And I was one of the only people who had like any sort of job or experience in something like psychology or clinical psych related. And so I felt proud. I was like, oh. And then the professor was like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. And so I had the opposite experience. And now too,
Oh, lucky you.
such a relief is that in all my broadcasting classes, at the beginning of like all of them, at the beginning of all the journalism, communications, Newhouse courses, they always ask you like, "Oh, what's your goal?" Blah blah blah, and then every time having to explain the wrestling thing is just really embarrassing and annoying, and I didn't like doing it. So now that I don't want to do it anymore, I can just be like, I want to become a licensed professional counselor and psychotherapist, and then they're like, "Oh wow, okay," and then they move
Why are you
on.
in the
They don't even,
communication school?
huh?
Why are you in the communication school?
So I can finish this semester or these 2 semesters and graduate on time, you know? Because if I were to switch out of it right now and give up on the broadcasting
No, no,
degree,
no.
which would
I
be
know the reason. I'm
oh, oh, I
I'm
see. This is them
acting as if
asking.
I'm the professor.
I see. And then for them, I can't even give them a good explanation, you know? It's just I'm a dual major would probably be their response. And then also, actually, there was a scenario, Grayson, in my communications law class that I'm taking this semester. We had like these little sheets of paper that we filled out for her to get to know us. And on it, we had to check off what our major was. So I checked off BDJ, like the broadcasting one. And then I also checked off other with psychology. And then like on the paper, it also had that thing of like, oh, what do you want to do? Blah, 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 blah. And I got an email like a few hours later in the day from the professor being like, hey, I just wanted to say that I know it must be hard for you to be a minor in a communications law class. The Newhouse majors can be pretty intimidating sometimes. And so I just want to know that like I want you to always feel supported here. And like it was just a super sweet email of her like reaching out to like make sure I wasn't too like afraid or intimidated by the course or by my classmates. But she was, for whatever reason, she read my card I completed to say that I was a minor, you know, and that, like I wasn't actually a communication student, and so I had to like respond to her and let her know that I was in fact a Newhouse major and that I was not intimidated by my classmates, or not for the reasons she thought. I'm still very much
Mm.
intimidated, but yeah, that was sweet. She was really nice too. She's awesome, and yeah, I like her. I like her.
That's
Then
fine.
also, as part of my introduction in my big journalism class, I think I overshared a little bit because the professor, my professor Grayson, the guy just moved here from like Washington D.C. It's his first time ever teaching, and he used to go to this school, right? And he took the class that he's teaching now, and
Hmm.
uh, he wanted to do some like introduction stuff, and I think part of what all the professors have been instructed on is to be like very straightforward with students about like, hey, if you guys feel stressed out or anxious about anything, know that the school has resources and all this sort of stuff, and being very like open about mental health, which I think is really cool and great. But I don't know if it comes natural to this guy per se. And one of the questions he ended up asking at the end of class for us to get to know each other was legitimately one of the different therapy groups that I was a part of back at my internship, where you basically have to come up with your ideal, your perceived, and your real self. And so like the idea is that you like do some contemplation and you try to figure out attributes of yourself that other people see in you, and then things that are actually a part of you, and then what you like ideally want to be. And he just added, like, he asked the class, like, how do you think people perceive you, and how do you think you really are? And so it was way too much of a question to ask with 4 minutes left and for everyone to go around the room and say. And I ended up being very honest and just being and expressing how like anxious I was about the course, and because he kept asking for people like to express their worries and concerns about the class, and so I did, and I was the only one who did, and so I felt quite dumb, but it's okay. Yeah.
You fool,
yep.
JC.
I know. Shame on me.
Everyone
for being
knows
honest.
an invitation to share is actually not an invitation to share.
I know. I was dumb. I was hoping other people would be like, oh, yeah, I'm freaked out about the class too. But that's not what I got. But it was a class. It was only 6 students, and all of us were white guys. So it was, yeah, that makes sense.
6 students. There's 6 students in the class.
It was for that day because we didn't have a big enough classroom for everyone to come in, and so half the students had to do it a different day during, or like after us. It was a weird schedule, but basically there are 12 students, but there were 6. Yes, it's a weird thing, Grayson. It's weird, but that's one of my classes. I have comm law, I have broadcasting, I have clinical psychology, and then I have graphic design. And graphic design for me is completely online, and I love it because it feels so much like art from high school, you know? And it's just, because it's the first time since that class that or since senior year of high school that I've had an art class. I mean, it's not really art because it's more like just layout and design principles, and but we're still doing projects is the point. And so it's just nice to have that again, where it's not like, oh, here are your tests and here are your readings. It's like, no, here are the due dates for your sketches, your rough draft, and your final project. And I like that. It's comforting. So
yeah,
that's what my semester's looking like, man. That's really all that I have going on. I am, like you mentioned, freaked out about the workload, but I think, Grayson, we need to work on this together, okay? Because when I get freaked out about like, oh man, I'm working too much and I'm not gonna have enough time to do the things I want, you have to put it in perspective and be like, doing this stuff that I don't necessarily enjoy is probably better than being dead. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm alive and this is what I'm choosing to do, so let's do it, you know? I think that's a good attitude to have.
That's a very bad perspective. It's this or death.
I mean, but it works.
No in between.
It's the idea, not necessarily this or death, but the idea of like, hey, you're going to die. You have a finite amount of time, and this is what you're choosing to do with your time, right? And so you're definitely doing this thing. You can either choose to be stressed out and miserable while doing it, or you can choose to just be present and okay with it and get through it, you know? It's more that perspective. I think I presented it incorrectly or skewed at first.
You know what?
What is that?
I think I've figured out what I like about the video part.
What do you like about the video part of season 2 of Boy Oh Boy?
When I get bored, I can just make faces and watch myself make faces.
Okay, well, that's a bit unfortunate. What part were you getting bored during?
Well, it's not really bored. It's just like before we did the video, what I would do is to like keep myself like level, I guess, to keep myself from getting distracted. I would just sit on my computer and I would move around like icons on my desktop.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But I feel like with the video, I shouldn't be doing that. Like that would be too obviously distracted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is my replacement. I was really concerned about that going into this, was that I wouldn't be able to just like, or like I would get on my phone and then I would open it up and then I would just go on my home screen and I would swipe back and forth.
Wow.
And I would just do that while we were talking.
I mean, you're allowed to do that even though the video's on you, you know?
Yeah. I just won't. I feel like this is a good enough person to where I don't need to.
I guess.
I'll just make funny faces. I'll entertain myself that way.
When we did these in person, though, you I feel like you never had any problems with curing your boredom, or your antsiness.
True, but that's just because you were there. So it was like you were already the main focus. When
I
it's
see.
just voice, it's hard. Or even when we did
Oh.
video, it was
Hmm.
easier with video because I could like look at you and focus on whatever you're doing to
Yes.
occupy that
Well,
part of my brain.
I wish that were a possibility. However, 'tis not at the moment, at least. But
Nope.
it's okay. It's okay, Grayson. Because after this episode, we're gonna have to figure out how to edit this, and that'll be a fun time.
Yeah. And then lunch and then stream.
Then lunch, then stream. That's absolutely right. That is so right. There was something I was gonna mention, and now I don't even remember what it was. Something about being present and dying, and being grateful you're alive, stuff like that. Oh, I was thinking about how this whole summer, Grayson, right? Like I was spending all my time just working at the internship. And like I would come home and then I would sleep essentially. I'd watch like TV with my dad for a couple hours and I would sleep. Then I would wake up and I'd go back to the internship. And it was my life. And at no point during that time was I feeling bad like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have enough free time to like draw or read or do any of this stuff," right? And because
Hmm.
I don't know, I guess I was just enjoying myself, or I felt like I had some sort of purpose, or it was I wasn't thinking about being upset at not having free time. But now that I'm back here at school, I've fallen back into the mindset I always adopt of like needing to get my stuff done so I can have more free time. Which like I don't understand it. Why now am I worried about free time when I'm going to have so much more of it, right? Like I'm going to just by the nature of my workload compared to this summer and what I'm doing now, I'm going to have a lot more time free just sitting in this apartment. But it's also
I
now that
think
I'm going to
it
have that yeah.
I think it's because when you were doing the internship, it was something you enjoyed enough that it was almost like free time.
Um
Because if you had the free time, you would have chosen to do something like it or as productive or as enjoyable as it anyways, you know?
I think so. I think that's probably a pretty fair explanation. And I was there of my own volition, right? Like I was choosing to be there,
Hmm.
so technically it was free time. So that does make sense. Yeah, I guess so. Well,
Versus
I was
like the
thinking too.
communications classes you're in, you're stuck in those. And that's kind of a garbage situation to be in. You don't
Yeah,
really want to be in that. You don't want
no,
to do journalism.
no, I don't. I like my comm law class though, because it is just all talk about the First Amendment, and I think that's interesting. Like that's
Mhm.
I don't know, that seems interesting to me. And graphic design is fun, but the the other theory that I had on it was that maybe because when I did the internship, I really had no free time except for Sunday, that just the absence of it, I wasn't thinking about wanting it, if that makes sense. Like because there was
Mhm.
none, I didn't have the desire of like, oh, I need more time to be doing this thing because I didn't do those things. Whereas now
Mhm.
I am doing some of those things, and I'm like I have
You feel
that
like you don't
taste
have
and I
enough.
have that entitlement, and then the entitlement builds and it's like, oh, I need more time to do this, you know?
Hmm.
I think that might also play a role in it. Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe we're both wrong, Grayson. Who knows?
Maybe.
But this
I mean, we're only
marks
psych majors. We're not professional psychologists yet. I'm not
no
even
we're
a psych major
yeah,
yet.
you're not even.
For
That's
that loophole.
stolen valor, to be quite honest. I don't appreciate that one
Stolen
bit.
valor.
That's right. That's right. And it was wrong of you to do. But guys, this has been the very first episode of season 2 of Boy Oh Boy, and what a wonderful time it is to be a part of this incredible ride. Isn't that right, Grayson?
Great stuff. I need a
Great stuff.
less squeaky chair.
You do. You do. Is that the Wesley one with the bandana?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that chair is not in the greatest of shape. But Grayson, this has been season two's first episode, episode 145. We have video. It's a whole new world. The Abnormal podcast should be coming soon, and I don't know if it'll be up before the next episode of Boy Oh Boy, but I hope so. So we'll get all that figured
Oh,
out.
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
yeah,
Really quickly,
uh huh.
before we go, I want to mention my grandpa and grandma sent me and my brother 2 boxes of snack-sized chip bags. It's like
That's
80
so
chip
nice
bags.
of them.
It's so
Wow,
nice. I'm so happy about that. I just wanted to say
that's
that because it brought me a little bit of joy, you know? Just that.
that's
Oh,
incredible. I think old
Yeah.
people like those, you know. My grandparents, they like not to give out as gifts, but just to have for themselves. They order like those bulk just bags of potato chips when they're like the really tiny ones, and they just eat them like those are their snacks. It's great.
Wow.
It's awesome stuff. But this has been episode 145. We'll be back next week with the second episode of season 2. What an incredible change this has been, Grayson. A
Yeah.
completely different atmosphere to Boy Oh Boy. You know, I think it was
Kind of hate
palpable.
it.
You do?
Kind of. I don't like it. Mostly hate it.
Oh no, that's really unfortunate. But maybe we'll get that figured out by next week. Maybe we'll get that worked out.
Yeah.
Until then, though, goodbye, everybody.
Adios.